There's a viral clip circulating of Shadeur Sanders performing his post-game press conference following Colorado's 28-10 loss in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it is revealing for some on a number of levels, but it is also underscoring what I told you was likely to happen with Colorado in 2024. It looks to all the world like Colorado is beginning to come apart. Shedeur Sanders was asked about how the offense was performing, what was going right for him, what was going wrong for him, and then he exited the game. It looked like perhaps due to injury, but he certainly didn't finish it when it looked like the game was out of reach. The way that he chose to answer a question about Colorado's running game was indeed projected at balance, but what he said was, how many times did Raiola get hit? And from there, it was becoming very clear that Shedeur has had enough of his offensive line, not just this year, but last year. I wondered at what point it was going to start to show in public how Shedeur must feel when he is trying to play quarterback at Colorado. One of the things that I had applauded him for up until now is how he had shouldered being quarterback at Colorado, knowing that the protection was not there, knowing that his offensive line was the worst in the sport last year and quite literally could be the worst in the sport this year. And it was really telling about his character, because even going into this season, I think most of us would have said he would be telling the truth to talk about his offensive line not being any good. When Travis Hunter and he were playing EA Sports College Football 25, the day before it launched on early access, Travis was playing as Colorado. He was going for it on fourth down, and he was complaining that he got sacked, and he was saying this offensive line can't block for nothing because they were trash last year. They gave up 50 sacks of Shadeur Sanders, 52 sacks in the season, but they got Shedeur hit 199 times. And I tried to tell people this, and I don't know why it hasn't stuck, because I have said this many times over. It's not just that he got hit 199 times. It's that he got hit so much that he broke a vertebrae in his back, and that is what forced him to miss the last game of the season. And when you are seeing Nebraska's defense, particularly its defensive line, T-Fi on two every other snap or so it felt, you probably want to get him out there to protect him, because the offensive line is not going to protect him. I'm also looking at this from the standpoint that he got sacked 5 times in this game, and we're calling that an improvement from last year. We're calling that okay, they didn't sack him 7 times like they did last year in this game, even though it felt better because Nebraska lost that game, Colorado won it. Now that he is throwing the offensive line under the bus, or that's how it is going to be interpreted, and that's what we're dealing with, is how people are interpreting your comments, because it's very difficult to understand why the offensive line wasn't the only priority going into transfer portal season last year. And it's also difficult to understand how we're supposed to evaluate Shedeur Sanders when he is running for his life. That it was admirable what he was able to do last year, because he threw for over 3,000 yards. He put up a bunch of TDs. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions. And that offensive line was garbage. And all anybody wanted to say, and Colorado fans would be the first one to tell you this, if you gave him Georgia's offensive line, if you gave him Alabama's offensive line, Ohio State's offensive line, insert college football playoff contender here's offensive line, maybe he's a Heisman finalist. Well, that's not necessarily true. Look at Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. They're struggling. They don't know if they're coming or going. And that offensive line is better than Colorado's. Look at Notre Dame's. they don't know if they're coming or going. But are they better than what Colorado is giving Shedeur? Yes, and that is the problem. So going into the cycle, one of the things that had raised my antenna wasn't so much that they were bringing in more guys, because they've done that already, right? They bring in skill players. They will always have skill players because skill players are easier to come by and, frankly, easier to find. Finding guys that can crush in a defensive interior as offensive linemen, move them back, and finding defensive linemen that can crush in an offensive line and move them back, that is where big-time college football programs succeed. When you are thinking about Georgia, one of the reasons that it's difficult for me to say that Carson Beck is one of the best players in the sport is because he is surrounded by the best players in the sport constantly. That offensive line is ridiculous. Tate Ratledge is going to get drafted probably in the first round. That's just a guard. Colorado does not have a player that I believe can play in the National Football League on that offensive line. Not a single one. Colorado's got plenty of guys at skill, safety, corner, wide receiver, tailback, that can play in the National Football League. And they didn't need to come to Colorado to prove that, by the way. As we continue to look at Colorado, as we continue to evaluate their season going forward, it will be telling to me just how much of this Prime can really reorient the narrative, as they like to say in the comments, things that will tweak me. Call it just talking about the media, talking about the narrative, talking about this guy. No, man, give me a good, honest take, and don't rely on these ridiculous ad hominem attacks. This is a sports talk show. It is not your daddy's Facebook page. Build an argument. Dallin Hayden got 5 rushes for 32 yards. Colorado managed to rush the ball 22 times for 16 yards. 0.7 per yard. And that is where Shedeur has had enough. Because one of the things that was always going to be difficult for Colorado to show me is that they could protect him, because to protect him is not just pass pro. It's being able to run the ball effectively, and people have to respect it. If I don't have to respect you running the ball, why the hell am I going to why the hell am I going to act like you can? Why am I not just going to call as many zone blitzes as I can and come after your quarterback? That's what I would do. I am going to try to hit him and hit him and hit him. And they did. Again, not 5 sacks, 6 sacks in this game. Travis Hunter was Travis Hunter again, 10 catches for 110, but he showed if you can take him away, or if you can allow him not to get into the end zone, and they didn't, you can win. I thought bringing in Dallin Hayden was going to show that Colorado was committed to running the football, and they are not committed to running the football. I thought firing Sean Lewis and elevating Pat Shermer was going to show me play-action pass, and they ain't shown me no play-action pass. I don't see how this is getting better. I just don't. You've hired a bunch of guys that you think are good in Coach Prime, right? Robert Livingston? Maybe. Pat Shermer? Not yet. Not at Colorado. Phil Oldholt? Got work to do on the offensive line. Warren Sapp? Is that a mascot, or is he just there? What's he doing? You know? I'm asking, what is his contribution to Colorado's winning? Because last night did not look like winning. And more than that, they don't look like winning a lot this season. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. The fracture is coming. Like, if it's not here already, it just doesn't feel good in Boulder. And Prime's got to do what great head coaches do now. He has to try to find a way to reach his team in such a way that they want to respond. And I say this often, and this is why I think great coaches can be oversold but also undervalued. Great coaching isn't about X's and O's. It's not even about motivation. It is being able to say the right thing at the right time to the right person. Jimmy Johnson had a saying that I myself have lived by. I'm going to treat you all fairly. I'm not going to treat you all the same. I think Prime is going to have to do that with parts of media that he has to interact with, whether it's video or digital or print. I think that narrative is also going to change, because it's not incumbent upon players or students to understand their coaches or teachers. It is incumbent upon coaches and teachers to understand their students and players. That's why you get paid millions of dollars to do this job as a head coach, and that is what makes great teachers. Great teachers find a way to communicate to you so that you can get what they are laying down. Prime has not yet done that, and it's starting to show. Shedeur is now realizing that he could do what he could do at the FCS level, and it worked. But the caliber of player at this level, Power 4, is just that much faster, is just that much bigger, is just that much stronger. It is a lot like the transition for many from college to the NFL. Something got to change in Boulder, and it got to change right now.